Hi everyone, today's lesson is trigonometric functions, trig functions for the sine function. Okay, so this lesson we're going to go through the type of the function, which is odd or even. Domain will be x values, a range will be the y values, a period is the where it actually completes the whole pattern in the x degrees. And the amplitude is the height from the center. So if we look at sine wave or graph or sine function, it will look like this. So it starts from 0 all the way to 2 pi finishes. So that's your period, okay? So a whole one shape or pattern will finish in 2 pi. So the period for sine x is 2 pi. Okay, now when I look at this, I'm looking at this first part here. Now this is 0 and pi over 2. I'm going to use radians here, but I'll also put some degrees here just to get used to the idea of radians. So that's a 0, pi over 2 90 degrees, pi is 180, 3 pi over 2 is 270, 2 pi is 360. Okay, and then in between that I've got this 30 degrees, which is pi over 6, pi over 4 is 45, pi over 3 is 60, and so on. Now this one, we can actually see this in a, I'm going to put it up here, unit circle. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is this first part from 0 to pi over 2 is your first quadrant. Pi 90 degrees, pi over 2 to pi is second quadrant, and the pi to 3 pi over 2 is a third, and then that's a fourth quadrant. Okay, so if you look at all station to central, where do we get positive sign? And it's the first quadrant and second quadrant, isn't it? So if you look at this, first quadrant and second quadrant is above x-axis, so that will be positive. And then the third and fourth quadrant is below x-axis, which is negative. So that sort of makes sense, doesn't it, with the unit circle? First quadrant and second quadrant is positive, and third and fourth is negative. Okay, so let's have a look whether it's odd function or even function. Now, first thing you really think about is that testing. Remember, if it was if we put negative x in there, if it's even function, it'll be same. It comes out same. If it's odd, if I put negative value in there, it'll be minus f of x. Okay, so this one is even, this one is odd. Now we're going to have a look at whether sine function is even function or odd function. So I'm going to test this one. I'm going to test it with sine 30, which is pi over 6 here, right there, pi over 6. Okay, so if I put, I'm going to use different color. So if I'm going to go to sine 30, I'm going to use degrees, just as easier. And what's a sine 30? Sine 30 is half. And sine minus 30, which is here, pi over 6 minus pi over 6 minus 30, that is minus half. So this is written, I can write it like minus sine 30 is the same, isn't it? It's just that I just put negative here with sine 30, which means that's like f of minus x equals minus f of x, which is this one. So therefore it's odd function. Okay, sine is odd function. Okay, and then next one we need to find out is domain and range. So let's have a look at domain. Now I can actually put any x values here because there's no sort of stopping it for me to use like x values. So you can use any x values here. So domain for sine function will be negative infinity to infinity. okay? But range is, there's some limit there, because it's only got a highest one it's going to go up is 1. The lowest one it's going to go is -1. So my range will be -1 and 1, and it's included. 1 and -1 is included, okay? So, and that amplitude is the height from the center, where it actually cuts halfway mark of the range, really. So it goes from 1 to -1 here. So 1 to -1 here. And of course, the halfway mark is the x-axis. Okay? So from here, it goes up to 1. So your amplitude is 1. Okay? So let's have a look. Let's complete this questionnaire. So type of the sine function is odd, because we just proved that. And the domain will go from negative infinity to infinity, because I can use any x values. Range will go to -1 to 1. They're all inclusive. Now remember, if it's included, it's a square brackets. If it's not included, it's round. Period is the one that it's complete one pattern. It's 2 pi. So I'm going to go 2 pi. Amplitude is from center to the highest maximum value, which is 1. So this is what we got for sine function. Okay, so that's what it is. Excellent. So next video, I'm going to talk about cosine.